Welcome back to Good Your Sleep, the unhurried corner where the largest questions are allowed to arrive softly, without urgency, without the pressure of needing to be solved, where science can simply be something you rest beside, the way you might rest beside a window, watching something move slowly in the dark outside. Tonight's question is one that might feel slightly unsettling at first. Just slightly. What if the moon disappeared tonight? Not as a catastrophe, not as a disaster movie, just as a thought. A quiet, careful thought. The kind you can hold at this hour without it holding you back from sleep. Because the moon disappearing is not something that will happen. But thinking about what would change if it did tells us something true and surprising about what it is actually doing right now. And right now, whether you can see it or not, whether clouds are covering it, or the season has it rising late, the moon is there, doing what it has always done, quietly, faithfully, in ways most of us never think to notice. Let's begin with the ocean. If you have ever stood at a shore and watched the tide come in, the water, rising slowly up the sand, reclaiming the beach in that patient, unstoppable way, you have seen the moon's work. Not the moon itself, perhaps, but its work. Tides are the moon's gravity, reaching across 384,000 kilometers of space and pulling at the water on Earth's surface. The side of the Earth facing the moon is pulled slightly toward it. The oceans bulge, almost imperceptibly in any one place, but measurably, undeniably across the whole planet. The side facing away from the moon bulges in the opposite direction, left behind by the pull. Two bulges, always present, always following the moon as the Earth rotates. Beneath it, that is what tides are. The ocean being gently, persistently, reshaped by something 250,000 miles away. If the moon disappeared tonight, the tides would not stop immediately. The sun also exerts a tidal pull, smaller but real. There would still be tides, but they would be quieter, flatter, less than half as strong. The great, rhythmic breathing of the ocean, in and out twice a day that has been happening since the moon formed over 4 billion years ago, would become something diminished, something that still moved but moved less. Like a song, played in a lower key, with something essential removed from it. The creatures that have built their entire lives around that rhythm. The crabs that spawn by the full moon. The fish that time their migrations to the tides. The intertidal creatures that live precisely in the zone between high and low water would face a world that no longer matched the one they were built for. The ocean would still be there, but it would be quieter in a way that would echo through every living thing connected to it, which is most of them. The moon shaped our days. It is still shaping them, barely in increments too small for any one generation to feel. And it is drifting away, 2 fingers per year. Patient, inevitable, not leaving, in any dramatic sense, but not staying in place either. The solar system is now here as something that may surprise you. The moon is not only pulling the ocean, it is pulling you, not in a way you can feel, not in a way that does anything measurable to your body, but the same gravitational force that reshapes the ocean also, technically, acts on everything with mass on the surface of this planet, including you lying where you are right now. The effect on a body the size of yours is so small as to be meaningless in any practical sense. You are not ruled by the moon the way the ocean is. You are too small, too solid, too local. The ocean is affected because it is vast and fluid and can actually move in response to the pull. You cannot, but the pull is there. It is always there. Gravity does not make exceptions for size. It only makes them for scale. And there is something quietly extraordinary in that. In the fact that the same force reshaping the tides on every coastline on Earth is also, in some vanishingly small way, present in this room, reaching through the walls, reaching through the roof, landing on everything, including you. The moon has always known where you are. It simply doesn't distinguish you from the floor. Let's go further, past the tides, past the ocean, into something slower and stranger. The moon is stabilizing us. The Earth tilts on its axis. That tilt, currently about 23.5 degrees, is what gives us seasons. Summer when your hemisphere leans toward the sun. Winter when it leans away. The slow, reliable procession of warmth and cold that life on this planet has organized itself around for hundreds of millions of years. Without the moon, that tilt would not be stable. The gravitational influence of the other planets, Jupiter especially, enormous and distant, with a pull that reaches across the solar system, would cause the Earth's tilt to wobble over time. Not quickly, over millions of years, but dramatically. Some models suggest that without the moon's stabilizing presence, Earth's axial tilt could vary anywhere from nearly 0 to more than 85 degrees. Nearly flat, or nearly sideways. A nearly flat Earth would have almost no seasons. A nearly sideways Earth would have seasons so extreme, polar regions in permanent blazing summer for half the year, then permanent darkness for the other, that the climate would be almost unrecognizable, different entirely from what life here has known. The moon, sitting where it sits, its gravity gently and constantly nudging the Earth's tilt back toward stability, is one of the reasons our seasons are gentle enough to be livable. One of the reasons the climate has been stable enough over long periods for complex life to evolve. One of the reasons that evolution had enough consistency to work with, enough predictable seasons, enough reliable warmth and cold, to produce, eventually, everything alive. Today, including you, in your particular form, with your particular kind of mind. The moon did not intend any of this. It only orbits, but in orbiting, it has been holding something steady for billions of years. And everything that lives on this planet is, in some quiet and unacknowledged way, the product of that steadiness. There is one more thing worth knowing about the moon tonight. It is leaving, slowly, so slowly that in a human lifetime, or even across the whole of recorded history, the change is almost unmeasurable. But measurably, undeniably, the moon is moving away from us. About 3.8 centimeters per year, the width of 2 fingers. Every year, the moon is 2 fingers further than it was. This is because of the tides themselves. The tidal bulge the moon creates in the ocean pulls slightly ahead of the moon as the Earth rotates. That bulge has a gravitational pull of its own, and it tugs the moon forward in its orbit, adding energy to it, causing it to drift outward, slowly, patiently, in the way that everything in the solar system moves, on timescales that make patience seem like the wrong word, because patience implies waiting, and the solar system doesn't wait. It simply continues. The moon was once much closer. Billions of years ago, newly formed, it hung, enormous in the sky. The tides it raised would have been nothing like the tides we know. They would have been walls of water, tidal forces so strong. They shaped the young Earth's geology. The days were shorter then. The Earth spun faster. The moon's gravity has been slowing that spin, transferring the energy outward into the moon's orbit, and the days have been growing longer as a result, gradually, over billions of years, always in motion, always in slow negotiation with itself. The moon and the Earth are in the middle of a relationship that has lasted for a billion years and will continue for billions more, even as the distance between them grows. So what if it disappeared tonight? The tides would quiet. The axial tilt would, over millions of years, begin to wander. The nights would be darker, completely, consistently dark in a way we have never known, because for all of human history, the moon has been there to soften the darkness at least part of every month. The animals that navigate by moonlight, that time their behavior to its cycle, that have evolved over millions of years to read its phases as reliably as a clock, they would face a sky suddenly missing something fundamental. And we would look up, those of us who thought to look, and find a gap. Not a dramatic gap. The stars would still be there, brighter actually without the moon's glow washing them out. The Milky Way would be visible every night. The sky would be, in some ways, more beautiful. But there would be something absent. Something we had never learned to name. As necessary because it had never been absent. The way you don't notice the hum of a refrigerator until it stops. The way silence can feel louder than sound if it arrives where sound always was. The moon. There every night in some phase, even when we don't think to look. Even when it rises late or sets early, or is hidden entirely behind clouds. Even now, wherever it is in its orbit tonight, doing what it has always done. Pulling at the ocean. Steadying the tilt. Drifting slowly outward. Doing all of this without being asked. Without knowing that we would, one quiet evening, think to wonder what it was doing. It is still there tonight. Whatever the sky looks like where you are, whatever the weather is, the moon is, in its orbit, at its current distance, at its current phase, pulling the ocean. on the far side of the planet, sitting in the same relationship to the Earth it has occupied for 4 billion years. It is not going anywhere. Not tonight. And there is something in that, in the sheer reliability of something so large, and so old simply continuing to be where it is, that is worth resting beside. You don't have to see it for it to be there. It is there. It has always been there. And tonight, like every night since, before the first creature on this planet looked up and noticed a light that wasn't a star, the moon is holding something steady, quietly, without asking for anything in return. That kind of faithfulness deserves, at minimum, a moment of acknowledgement before sleep. So here it is. The moon is there. It is doing its work. And so are you. Rest now. Thank you for being here tonight. If something in this felt like stillness, like a thought that settled instead of circled, then this did what it came to do. Come back whenever the night feels like it needs filling. Sleep well, *.